Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. And yeah, let's go. It is another Ballsy Uncut live, wherever you're checking this out, however you're doing it, if it's live or if it's later, I appreciate it. Tell all your friends. We grow this one viewer, one listener at a time. I did something that you should never do, whether you're on traditional media or here now, is have popcorn before you go on the air. But I couldn't resist, and my kitchen's just upstairs, so I gotta have some popcorn. So that's probably not the way to go. This show is brought to you by Ward Tirecraft. Let's get that there. Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue. For all your tire and brake needs, go check them out. They also have great payment plans there to help make it more affordable to you. Go see Michael Barth and the gang. And District Brewing, great gang over there. Tim and the gang helping support the show, helping support the billboard, which is on Sass Drive right as you head towards Mosaic Stadium. And they've got their passion fruit lime and mango lime super squeeze fruited seltzer on the market now. One in a purple can, one in an orange can. I had all mine. I drank all mine. For a guy that doesn't drink, I drank all mine. That'll tell you how good it is. And you can go check it out. Got to get me some more. Lots to get to. Let's start with this. If you're watching this jersey over my shoulder, it's an autographed Logan Ferland jersey. Above that is an autographed Wilson official CFL football, autographed by the team. The Ferland jersey, obsidian green, autographed by the team. I wasn't a big fan of the jersey till I actually kind of see it live. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'd like it from a play-by-play standpoint, but I don't do that now, or right now anyway. So I guess I really got no reason to bitch. But yeah, it's a nice twist on a jersey. It's probably their second best ever alternate jersey. The best one is the one they wear at Labor Day, the traditional or the throwback green one from the 80s, 70s, 80s. Anyway, so that jersey's autographed. Logan Ferland got that done. The football's autographed. Logan Ferland got that done for me. I got 2 tickets to the Labor Day Classic, which I purchased and was going to do it in kind of a giveaway type of deal. But I'm doing it here for the bidding purposes, and I'll get to the end game here in a second. And the other thing we got, courtesy of our friend at our friends Murad and Michelle Al Khatib, AGT Foods. Murad's the president of the Regina Thunder. 4 AGT passes to sit in the AGT lounge for the Riders home opener in 2025. So what we're doing here is we're taking bids for the next 2 weeks. You can direct message me at Ballsy Uncut on Facebook or X, and on Instagram if you want. You can do that, or just at Michael Ball on Facebook. And right now our top bid is, hold on here, just got to find it. Came in today. It is, I'm sorry, this is kind of crazy when you don't know what the hell you're doing. Let's go here. Yeah, we're signed in. We got a bid of $800. I'm just trying to get to the chats right now. It's an $800 bid from Tarsi Shindelka. Tarsi Shindelka, not Darcy, but Tarsi, an $800 bid. So if you would like to bid on the uniform, the 2 passes to the Labor Day Classic this year, 4 to the home opener next year in the AGT Lounge, and also the autographed football. If you would like to do that, you can direct message me. All the money going to Pete Pasco. Pete Pasco is a friend of mine. Helped me get into the radio business in terms of giving me my first job. So you can blame him if you want, back in the day. And has been a longtime media member in Regina, covering news and sports. Moved here from Ontario. First job in Saskatoon, then came to Regina. He's been doing Locker Talk on Access, promoting local sports in Regina and surrounding area for 23 years. And he's coached RMF and high school football. Pete is battling liver cancer, and it's spread now to his lungs. I'll just be honest, straight up. They've given him a year to live. Of course, he's going to fight and try to do it longer than that. I've had other friends that are fighting it right now, like my buddy Troy Koser. Carm Carteria stepped forward. The first thing I auctioned off was a jersey, autographed Ryan Nugent Hopkins jersey, and he donated money. Our friend Carlo Giambattista from Italian Star Deli just donated money. He transferred me $500 to Pete's fund. Steve Tunison, former Ram, great guy in the community working for Sask Lotteries. He gave 100. Don Koser, who is Troy's mom, he's battling cancer. She gave $100. So we're getting some money going here for Pete, just trying to relieve his financial stress while he battles this thing. So if you would like to, like I said, bid on this, you do so at Ballsy Uncut by direct messaging me. We'll do it for a couple of weeks. Okay. Beautiful jersey, nice football, AGT Lounge, and the Labor Day Classic. If you want to go to 2 games in a year, Rider games, it's AGT Lounge, or it's like the home opener and doing it in the AGT Lounge. Come on. And the other thing is the Labor Day Classic. All right, let's get to it. Okay. Things to talk about in terms of the CFL. And let's start with, I went 3-1 yesterday or last week in my picks. 3-1. The only one I got wrong, the Rough Riders got dummied up by the Edmonton Elks. So I went 3-1, 22 and 14 on the season so far. Winnipeg, a dominant win over the Lions. Worst performance by any team this year coming off a bye, the BC Lions. That was a pathetic performance. They'll try to rebound against all of a sudden the Edmonton team, the Edmonton Elks, who have a little bit of momentum. Davis Alexander continues his nice development as a quarterback, but they continue in this league to just recycle the retreads at quarterback. Dom Davis, who has basically been a backup quarterback, except for, 2019, when he threw for like 4 bajillion yards in a game against the Rough Riders when Ottawa beat Saskatchewan. Dom Davis gets signed by Montreal as Caleb Evans is gone for the year. And by the way, in that game, Montreal-Hamilton, worst booth review in the history of football. Hamilton fumbles, Montreal gets it. They go to booth review and still get it wrong and give the ball back to Hamilton. Just ridiculous. Riders lose to Edmonton. Their D is leaking now, big time. Big time. And I don't know how I feel about the Riders now. I don't know how you feel about the Riders. That's what I'm asking you. Over the next 3 games, 5, if you take it 5 games, it looks really bad or really unsettling. But let's just go in small increments. So let's go by 3 games. Over the next 3 games, with what's going on in Rider Nation, how do you have the Riders looking over the next 3 weeks? They're in Ottawa on a short week. Then they come home and play Montreal, Cody Fajardo, and then they got to go on a short week to Toronto. They have 3 short weeks. A team like BC has no short weeks where they got to face a team on a bye. Like, it's ridiculous. Who comes up with this scheduling? And I don't really care. I'm not like waving the Rider pom-pom, but fair is fair. Who comes up with the schedule and who at the Riders agrees to this schedule? Like, who says, yeah, okay, that's good, we'll take it. Like, no, bullshit. I'm not putting up with that crap. Anyway, Riders having some big-time injury problems now. Can they, the Riders defense is leaking oil. The secondary hasn't been good really all year, and now they can't tackle anybody. Did Malik Carney even dress in that game? Did Malik Carney even play in that game except for being held once, blatantly held once? Anthony Lanier II, we saw how important he is for the Rough Riders. It helps Micah Johnson, who is Micah Johnson's a stud, and at his advanced age for football. Guy was a teammate of Corey Mace's. Now that's his coach. But Micah's good on a pitch count. Micah's good when Anthony Lanier II's helping out up there. Riders just didn't get enough up front, and now it looks like Thurman didn't practice. He's hurt. I'm hearing AJ Ouellette's hips are shot. Everybody's like, oh, and Corey Mace left the door open that the Riders, Trevor Harris might play on Thursday. You never know. No, Trevor Harris practiced. Trevor Harris is on 2 wonky knees. You got an offensive line now. Ryan Sevier's on the 6-game injured list. Okay. You'll be on your 4th right tackle because Brandon Council has quit. He's a one and done. Was he activated off the suspended list a couple of weeks ago? Now he's one and done. Back to Auburn to work as their NIL coordinator. Of course he'd go back there where he played his college ball. I probably would too. And I don't know that his heart was in it anymore, playing football in the CFL, Canadian money and all that type of stuff. You got to really want it to play Canadian football, especially if you're an American. And I'm not saying that to denigrate our league, but with the exchange rate and everything like that, And it's only going to get worse now that the shit hits the fan with regards to the stock market. So I know that's big picture politics, but tell you what, Riders got some problems now. They're not beating Ottawa. It's like if they beat Ottawa, give Coach Mace Coach of the Year right now. Harris ain't playing. Why would you put Harris in? Why would you speed up his return? Is it just me? It's not the quarterback that's hurting the Riders. Yes, a healthy Trevor Harris, you might have beat BC. The other games you lost, you may have beaten Edmonton. But come on, it was the defense that blew it. Yeah, you probably would have beat BC in Montreal. Let's be honest, if you had a healthy Trevor Harris. You're not beating Edmonton. Like Shea Patterson threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and you had 31 points. One was scored in garbage time. It's the defense that has got to tighten up, not the quarterbacking. I would not rush Trevor Harris. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I said at the start of the year, this team would be 9-9. It was looking like, hey, they might get to 12-6 the way it's going, but that's how fast the season can change. I think I'm going to stick with 9-9, maybe 10-8, get to the playoffs, and you never know what happens. You're talking about a 38-year-old dude. I'm a friend of Trevor Harris's. I think Trevor Harris is an accurate, great field general, but he has all the mobility of a telephone pole. He's not going to run around. And now you got offensive line in absolute tatters. Why would you put him back there? I wouldn't put him back here. This game, I would for sure not put him in if your O-line isn't any better against the Montreal Alouettes. That's the best defense in the CFL. Remember when we were talking Montreal, Saskatchewan, maybe 1A, 1B in defense? Well, Montreal's upheld their game, and the Riders have sunk big time. So I'd go... I wouldn't put him in that game either. I might look at Toronto if he's improving, but I don't know. And then you got Winnipeg. So that's my question to you at all the social media pages where you find Ballsy Uncut. How do you like your team over the next 3 games? Because they've lost 2 now, right? They've lost the last 2. They've only won 1 of their last 4. And some people are like, same shit, different season. No, hold it. It's a different coaching staff. Now, a lot of young guys coaching the team have never been in the position that they're in now, including the head coach. Mark Mueller hasn't been the OC. Corey Mason's never been a head coach. You got JC Sher. Lots of guys on the staff are new to here and new to the situation. This is a big piece of adversity they're going to be facing right now. I was going to have Keith Willoughy on here, but I accidentally deleted his interview I did yesterday. Keith Willoughy is our dean here at Ballsy Uncut, the dean at the Edwards School of Business, actually, in Saskatoon. That's his real job, but he's the dean of Ballsy Uncut. He does our CFL simulations. We'll get into that tomorrow. That interview will be done tomorrow morning before he goes into class, and then I will air it tomorrow on the show. But things have changed even there. I think the Riders were at like a 99% possibility of making the playoffs. It's down to 81. And I think their home playoff prospects were 96%, and now they're 59%. Now, it could switch like that, but I'm just saying. All right. Let's get to the Ballsy Uncut power rankings. And the Montreal Alouettes we never touched on this. Calgary had an impressive comeback. They're great at home, not so good on the road. So we'll get to them in a second. I got Montreal at 1. The BC Lions with a pathetic, pitiful performance against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, especially more specifically on offense, only 4 first downs. How do you only get 4 first downs in a CFL game? That is a joke. With the rules the way they're called against the defense, BC should be embarrassed. I'm looking for a much better effort, and Jake Dolegala, the big, tall, 6'7" quarterback, gets the start for the BC Lions with Vernon Adams on the shelf. I got Ottawa at 3. I've got Saskatchewan at 4. Ottawa hasn't lost on home turf, and I don't expect them to lose this week either. Saskatchewan at 4. I don't think it's time to panic yet, but I'd be starting to get a little worried. You got to start trusting your eyes. They can't cover anybody, and now they can't tackle anybody. Wow. Calgary at 5. What an impressive win. I expected Calgary to win. I didn't think it would be in comeback fashion. They're down 22-6 and rally and knock off the Toronto Argonauts. So I got Calgary at 5. I got Winnipeg at 6. Don't look now, but the Blue Bombers on a bye week. They're getting rested. and they're going to be good to go. You watch the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're not done yet. They could get Kenny Lawler back. That's all the rest of the CFL needs is for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to get healthy and Zach Collaros to start feeling it again. Brady Oliveira. They're still getting pretty good performances from Willie Jefferson and Adam Bighill. Look out. Toronto is at 7. You just can't trust their quarterback. And Cameron Dukes and Nick Arbuckle, they're just not getting it done consistently. I'm sorry, but they're not. They got a great defense. Whether you like Chad Kelly or not, if he comes back and plays like he did last year, then I could see the Argos really rising in the power rankings and in the standings in general. They're just kind of treading water right now. I got them at 7, just ahead of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Tiger Cats get shit pumped by the Montreal Alouettes in Hamilton. They get another crack at them this week. And I got Edmonton last. I mean, they won. That's great. Now win at home. Show me you can beat the BC Lions. You get the BC Lions on the ropes and beat them. Then all of a sudden, with all your close losses and a win over Saskatchewan against what was considered a vaunted defense, and then you beat BC in Edmonton, like, you got to start winning on home turf. You have to win some games on home turf to get people to show up there. When the baseball team is outdrawing you, or there's more interest in the baseball team, as Bob Stauffer told us last week, that is an all-time low. Ballsy's bus. We'll do that. You know what? We'll do that in a couple of minutes. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to step back. We're going to take a break. I'm going to get to Ballsy's bus and best from week 9 as we head into week 10. That's where we pick some of the good things, some of the bad things in week number 9. And I want to get into something that I don't know if I'm going to turn this just into a sports or lifestyle show, but something was announced today in the classroom that's going to be coming in Saskatchewan that I absolutely like, and it's way overdue, and it ties into Old Man Yells at Clouds. I love it. But first, time for a sponsorship break, and then it's a great segment, man. If you like listening to baseball talk with a very bright former major leaguer, Caleb Joseph of Rogers Sportsnet, who is exclusive to this show in terms of podcasting world and radio world, it's right here. Caleb Joseph, the former Oriole and Blue Jay and Rogers Sportsnet analyst. He will join me here on the show as he does each and every week next. Quickly becoming one of my favorite dudes to talk to. It's Taking Cuts with former major leaguer Caleb Joseph. And of course, he is with Sportsnet here in Canada. Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it. White Sox have lost 21 straight games, tying an AL record. I don't know if you've ever been on a team that's lost that much, but what's it like to be in a clubhouse when you can't get out of your own way?
Yeah, I've been on a team that lost 115 games one season. So, yep, we're getting really close to those White Sox. Yeah, but it's tough, and especially when you lose that many in consecutive days. It is doom and gloom. It is here we go again. You are hopeful that when you go into the next game, you see some good things. Maybe you score first, but then the first sign of anything that looks negative, your mind straight goes to, here we go again. I've been there, and it is a tough way to play. It's a tough way to finish out the dog days of summer, August, September, when you start to kind of lose it mentally because the heat is frying your brain, and you're already starting to kind of think about the offseason, especially when you have zero hopes of a playoff run. You're in pretty bad shape in terms of showing up to the park every day, knowing you're probably going to lose. It's going to be hot and just miserable. It's really tough. I feel bad for him because that was one of the worst seasons I ever participated in.
Yeah. Okay, Caleb, you mentioned last time we talked that you know Mookie Betts. There are 2 stars in LA that I don't think get enough pub. One really doesn't, and he's on one of the glamour teams, the Dodgers. It would be Mookie Betts. Just tell us a little more about Mookie Betts.
Well, he's not a big guy, and I don't know if people know this about him, but he is a champion bowler, a state champion bowler, has rolled multiple 300s, and is probably one of the more athletic people I've ever been around. You name it, he can do it. He can swing a golf club, he can shoot a basketball, he can mess around with a soccer ball. Like I just said, state champion in Tennessee bowling. So crazy athletic. What you see is what you get with Mookie. He looks like a fun-natured person in real life, and he is. He's not one of those fake personas that you see and they say don't meet your heroes. Well, if Mookie Betts is your hero, you do want to meet him. He is genuine. He reminds me a lot of Derek Jeter, the things that people said about Derek Jeter. Oh, he's genuine, he's this, he's that. When I finally met him, he was all of the above and exceeded it. Mookie Betts is definitely in that category, but he's the glue that holds that Dodgers team together by far, in my opinion, and removing him from that lineup could be disastrous for the Dodgers.
Now, you could do worse. This is a first world problem. I wouldn't say you're wasting your life living in Anaheim, California, Orange County, whatever. Like, there's a lot worse places to live in your life than California. But Mike Trout's out for the year. I just feel like it's going to be a wasted career, if I can put it that way. How do you feel about Mike Trout's career?
Yep, I couldn't agree more. You think about what he's been able to do in the course of his career with the MVPs, the home runs, the RBIs, the OPS, just the sheer numbers that he puts up every single year. It's just a shame that the Angels cannot put anybody around him that can actually get it done. Yes, had Ohtani there for a while, but just proves that it takes more than one or even two guys to really do it, win a championship. And, you know, he's not complaining. He's paid very well. He's in LA, not a tough place to play. The weather's unbelievable. The stadium is nice. Got the kind of iconic rocks in the outfield. But at the end of the day, I really feel like he wants to win, and he wants to be a winner. And he's just going to be stuck in LA kind of in that 4th and 5th place spot, in my opinion, for a long time. Unless they drastically change what they're doing and their process and their personnel. They just can't figure it out there. A lot of it has to do with that owner. A lot of people wondering if Artie Moreno might end up selling the team. But every time it seems like he might, and things might start to change, it seems like he grabs the reins and grips even harder.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of the Jays trades?
Well, I think that they have positioned themselves in a perfect position in terms of they can either go all in next year, which is what they have said. They have said that the Blue Jays are trying to compete in 2025. So they've positioned themselves with the players they did trade and the players they didn't trade to be able to go into 2025 and add and be competitive. Yet, if they can't add the pieces that they need to add, which in my opinion is a left field hitting power outfielder, a power hitting third baseman, and I think they need to surround Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with some power and some established power, not young players that they're really trying to get a gauge on. But if they can't find those pieces of the puzzle, say Anthony Santander from Baltimore is going to be a free agent, Alex Bregman from the Astros is going to be a free agent. If they can't target some of those players, they're positioned in the offseason to then trade off and go into a full rebuild. They could get rid of Vladdy, sell super high on Vladdy. They could try and move Bo Bichette. They could try and move Bassett, Gosman, Barrios. And so they're in what I would say is a bit of a holding pattern. They're right in the middle. They didn't sell off the really good pieces that are going to really be glue to their 2025 season, but they also added some intriguing pieces that could fit that mold. I think they acquired 11 players. If only 2 or 3 of those make it to the big leagues and are still Blue Jays past 2026, those have been incredible trades. Sometimes people see the sheer numbers and they think, oh, wow, what a great trade. It's not about quantity. You're looking for quality. So I think you might have 2, possibly 3 regular mainstay big leaguers in that trade, in those trades. And if so, they've done very well.
So take the Jays out of it. Give me a winner. Give me a loser. It could be a team. It could be a player. Do you have, in your mind who is a winner and who is a loser?
At the trade deadline, a lot of criticism was put on the Yankees, and so this might go into the loser category, that they just didn't do enough. Maybe could have added another starting pitcher. Looked like they might have had a couple ins on a couple players, but weren't willing to meet a certain price. But I'll tell you, they did get Jazz Chisholm, and so far he looks really, really good. Hit 4 home runs in Philadelphia in his first series there, and pretty unbelievable considering he's not that big of a guy. Very wiry type of player, but he made an impact switching positions from second to third base, and he has looked really, really good over there. The Blue Jays just played the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. He has adjustability to his swing, and I feel like that's the exact type of player they need in a pretty straightforward lineup where you have pretty much power with Stanton, Judge, and Soto. He kind of adds an element of adjustability, makes pitchers do different things. So a lot of people have the Yankees as kind of being duds. I actually think they did really well in terms of how they were able to kind of position themselves. And then, for the negative, you got to look for me. I think Baltimore had a decent trade deadline, but I really was hoping that they were going to go all in and get some really, really big names. They kind of landed in that middle tier. And again, oh man, if I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, I'm livid because I want an acquisition like a Corbin Burns. Zach Eflin is a nice player who they acquired from the Rays, but it's not the kind of the mainstay, big name that you really want to see that's really going to push him over the edge. So the players that the Orioles did acquire, do I think they strengthened their team? Absolutely. But do I think it really moves the needle for them? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Eflin does that, but I don't see it being a huge needle mover. I think they just got a little bit better and kind of trimmed the fat on the bottom end of the roster.
That's a neat ballpark. Is that a good baseball town?
When winning, absolutely. And I think you could say that just about any town, really, that sports a team, a professional sports team, is when they're going, they really do show up. They have enthusiastic fans that are knowledgeable. They understand baseball. And the tradition around the Orioles is kind of a little bit of a secret around baseball. When I was drafted by them in 2008, all I kind of knew was Cal Ripken. Well, I didn't really understand how people in that city and around that area really do love their O's, and they've got the accent, "Let's go O's," and it's they're really into it. And they chant "Oh" during the national anthem when "Oh say can you see." So it's a big deal for Orioles fans. When they're winning, they really show up, and it's quite a place to play. The park is absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure about that left field wall being moved back. I think that still looks kind of funny. It has absolutely benefited the Orioles pitchers, but the configuration looks a little bit weird to me. But it's an iconic stadium and was certainly a treat to play in for many years as my home park.
So you could take some of what you said about the Orioles and move it over to the Pirates organization. They've got a nice stadium, a nice backdrop. They're always kind of in the mix a little bit, and then they fall off. They're in the mix again. Big matchup here this week, starting tonight with the San Diego Padres. Which team is more likely to get into the playoffs? Right now, the Padres hanging in there. They're in the wild card. On the outside looking in, it's the Pirates.
Yeah. Well, sheer talent-wise, it should be no question. The Padres should absolutely be in. But the little engine that could, the Pittsburgh Pirates, they just keep doing it. And I thought their acquisition of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was a really sneaky good acquisition. They have Cruz O'Neal at shortstop. He's a real unique player in terms of he can really shift the game one way or the other. One of the most massive shortstops I've ever seen. I think 6'7", I believe. Shoe size at probably 18, so it looks funny watching a guy that big play shortstop. Normally you're used to seeing them play the corner positions on a diamond, but the Pirates are just sneaky, and when you have Paul Skeens every 5 days, it's borderline guaranteed win because he's so good. So you love what the Pirates are doing. I love kind of the little engine that could, the underdog story. Pittsburgh is such a great little city, iconic stadium, as you said, by far the best aesthetics when you're playing the game and looking out to center field, the view that you get, unbelievable. But they just kind of always get just close enough to make it interesting and then kind of fall out. The Padres, there's just so much sheer talent on that team. You just wonder if at some point it's all going to click. Reminds me a little bit of Jerry DiPoto in Seattle that just keeps putting together talent and makes trades and signs free agents and shifting guys left and right, really trying to make it work. And the Padres, they have a great stadium as well. But I really think that at the end of the day, once 162 is kind of played out, I would be shocked if the Padres don't find themselves in that spot. And the Pirates going home like they usually do.
Well, you know what, buddy, though? The objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. The San Diego Padres roughed up the Dodgers 2 games, and the Dodgers are they're injury ravaged. Maybe they're getting some guys back, but the Padres are getting close to that division lead. They're not that far away.
I like them. I like their team. A former teammate of mine, Manny Machado, cornering
Okay,
third
let me
base.
stop
He
you.
looked
Let me
good.
stop you. Let me stop you. That's a great. What is he like? I like him. I didn't like him as much on the Dodgers. You get a sense when I'm reading all the stuff out of San Diego, because I am a Padres fan, that he's a great player, but maybe not the best leader. What's he like?
Well, I have known Manny since he was drafted, and we played in the minor leagues together. And a youngster, and I can't imagine being his age at his stardom that he had so early on. Superstar at 19, 20, all eyes on him. I had worked out with Alex Rodriguez, was a big mentor of his for a while. And so I kind of saw the development. I thought the first couple of years in Baltimore, you could tell that he was a youngster and really trying to find his way. And we all do and say silly things when we're 20, 21, 22, much less 21, 22, 23 with millions of dollars in the bank and one of the best players at your sport. And so I've loved the way that he has just evolved, not only as a man, a husband, a dad, but as a teammate, as a player. And I think he got a bad rap early on. You remember there were a couple instances with Josh Donaldson where a couple, bench clearing brawls. He had one with Ventura, who the late Ventura from Kansas City. So there was a lot going on there early on in his career, but I really think he's moved past that, and he really is a good leader. He cares, and he really cares about winning. He cares about fulfilling that contract, and he has a smoothness about him that sometimes it might not show how much he cares, much like Bo Bichette in Toronto, that sometimes you can't really tell how much it really bothers him because they're so smooth on the outside and kind of like a duck above water. You see what you see. You see the head kind of turning, but underneath the water, the feet are going crazy, but you just can't see that. So he's a great player, and it always helps to have people that you respect by your side as well. Tatis Jr., who I know that he enjoys playing with. But Bogarts really is the key for me. He's a really solid pro, and not really having the best season, but when you start combining all of these guys around him and they have one goal in mind, sometimes it works out.
He's picking up steam, though, Bogart, so that's good if you're a Padres fan. Lastly, we're talking a lot about trades. What's it like to be in a locker room when guys go and then other guys come and replace them? Like, is there like a 24-hour moratorium where you kind of mourn your buddy gone, but then do you get together in a group or as a team to kind of bring that cohesion? Because it's got to be awkward. You're humans. It's got to be awkward coming into a new situation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's two different scenarios. If you're on a winning team, they just kind of seamlessly fit right in, and you might have a small individual meeting with that player if you're the manager, and they just kind of slide right in. But when you're on the other end and you're a part of a team that is just totally blown it up and sold, much like the Blue Jays, I've been on teams where you have so many new players that it's almost like a reset. You have a meeting before you kind of go into that second half. The manager will probably sit down and give new expectations and kind of welcome some of the new guys and this and that, and really kind of lay out what he expects for the last 8 to 12 weeks, which is a lost season, which everyone knows. You kind of address the elephant in the room, so to speak, and you kind of do it together because there's, especially with the Blue Jays team, there are a number of veteran players who are prepared and wanting and willing to win now, and now you have quite a few kids that are kind of trying out, and so there's this weird mix where you're going to be thrust into more of a mentorship role as an older player when all you want to do and all you signed up to do is win, and you're kind of past that mentorship role where you don't really want to be walking around with kids, holding their hand around the big leagues, but it's part of the job. And so you kind of have to shift your mindset from win now, do everything, whatever it takes, to what does the organization kind of need of me now? I'm obviously going to try to do the same stuff every day, play really nice, solid baseball, but at the same time, it's kind of my job, if I'm George Springer, to kind of take Joey Loperfido under my wing and kind of show him how things are done and be a stable presence for him. So mindset's changed too as well, and it's actually a lot harder on the veterans than it is on the rookies. The rookies show up, and they're just so happy to be there. This is my chance. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to take advantage of this. Like, they're on cloud nine. The veterans are kind of moving in the opposite direction. They're understanding it's a failed season. Now they know they have 8 weeks or so to really kind of grind it out, play it out on a team that's probably going to lose a lot of games, make a lot of silly mistakes. So you have these two different directions, and that's the manager's goal, is to get these two together, really kind of try and blend and cohesively mash them together, so to speak, so that you can have a successful end of the season and everybody kind of can get along and work well together.
Could talk an hour with you. One more though, since you kind of jogged my memory. What, was there a guy that, like, you're in a clubhouse, they bring a guy in, and listen, it's a big league, but it's a small league, right? And you hear stories about guys. A guy comes into your locker room, you had one perception of him, and there's a different perception when he gets there.
Yeah, great question. I think Delman Young is probably the number one guy. He was on a team that I played on, a championship team, and he kind of had the bad rep. He had thrown a bat as a minor leaguer that hit an umpire, and he had developed kind of this reputation of kind of not being a great guy. And I kind of went into that season knowing his history, but not knowing him. And I'm pretty honest and open person. I'm going to give you. So I remember right out the gate kind of going up and speaking to him, and he was a little bit cold because I was a rookie and he was a 10-year veteran at that point. So I knew that's kind of how it goes. But as spring training went on, as the season started, and he realized that, A, I wasn't a doofus and I was a pretty decent major leaguer, he started slowly kind of opening up. And then by the end of it, he was kind of my number one cheerleader. And he was such a great influence on me. Could not have been more positive. I did not see what I had been kind of warned of. And I was just waiting kind of for that Jekyll/Hyde to kind of show up. He was none of that. He was absolutely fantastic as a teammate, huge mentor for me. I respected him so much. He would come up behind me and say, hey, man, like, nobody's going to give you credit, but you played a great game today. Stuff like that is pretty much unheard of for 10-year vets, especially for a guy with the reputation that kind of he had coming into it. So, but so many stories like that. I could probably tell you 10 stories like that where you have a kind of a perception of a player on one way and they're total opposite. And a couple where you really are excited and then you meet them in real life and it's not as good as you had hoped. So, but that's people in general. I think everybody can relate to, in general. Don't meet your heroes, stuff like that. But even if you see somebody maybe in a similar job avenue that you kind of really want to talk to, and they're even better than you thought or worse, and so it's the same thing. But Delman Young was a huge asset for me my rookie year.
One of my favorite segments, man, is Taking Cuts with Caleb Joseph. We'll talk to him next week. Thanks for your time, bro.
You got it. We'll do it again.
Hey, one of my favorite new players to watch in the Canadian Football League, Khalil Pimpleton, joining us here now on TSN. Khalil, they're calling you Lord Pimpleton. Did you have a nickname before you came to Ottawa?
Nah, my people usually just call me KP, Peasy. When I was in Little League, they used to call me Mighty Mouse.
Okay.
But other than that, nah, these new nicknames, man, they running it up out here.
That's good. It's good to be marketed. That's what this league needs. So you've never been the biggest guy on the playground, but you've been the fastest guy. What's it like to be that fast?
Yeah, it's just a gift from God, It's, I just try to use it to the best of my ability. I don't always say I'm the fastest, but I do believe I'm the quickest. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this one, Lord. You're in Edmonton, and I played football, but I've never been that fast. Take the mere mortals like me into your cleats, okay? What's it like to run that crossing route, turn the corner, and just outrun all the angles down the sideline? Like, what's it sound like? What's running through your head? How does it feel?
Yeah, it's funny you asked. I was just explaining to somebody the other day. It's different from, actually watching it on TV or what's sitting in the stands and watching it than actually being inside the helmet. It's only so much that you can see, out of your peripheral. It's almost like it's just tunnel vision. You can only see exactly where you turn your head. So it's kind of quiet. It's not as loud as you would imagine because you're so in the zone that you're not really focused on the sound around you. You can hear little subtle grunts and whatnot around you, pads clicking. But yeah, man, it is what it is. You just get the ball, you do what you do with it. I've been doing it for a long time, and it's a different experience than just sitting there watching somebody run the ball and actually, being in that situation, in that bucket and in the helmet, with the ball in your hand and running into that end zone.
What's it like looking at it from 35,000 feet when you watch it on the social media, or maybe you watch the game back? Like, what's that like? Oh, that looks a lot cooler, or that looks just a lot different.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It look a lot better when you watch it on like TV and stuff and like videos. And it's fun going through it, but you don't really see all the stuff that's happening around you until you actually watch the film. So yeah, it definitely hit different from being inside the helmet and then watching it from the stands or on film.
So that's a positive. Let's do another positive, okay? And then I want to get to one negative because I like to balance it out, okay?
Okay, for sure.
And you're a professional athlete. So talk about that punt return against the Calgary Stampeders, man. That's another rush. I'll tell you what, we don't see a lot of that in the United States anymore. It's the fair catch. It's they're trying to take kicking out of the game. It's what I've always loved about the CFL. Talk about the adrenaline rush. Everybody's running towards you, and you're trying. It's like dodgeball or tag on the park, in the park.
Yeah, I have a passion for punt return, and in this league it's a little different. Obviously, you get the 5-yard halo rule, so you get a lot. You can relax a little bit back there, knowing that you got a couple yards to catch the ball. Nobody just blazing down, like a bullet ready to hit you. So I mean, yeah, it's the same. It's the same situation, man. It's definitely that adrenaline rush, knowing that you about to return the ball and that you can't fair catch it. So you know that you got to catch it. You know you got to get some yards. You know you got to make something happen. And everybody did a good job of getting their man, getting on their blocks, sticking with them, and going the next level fastest, and making sure that they escorted me to the end zone.
Hey Khalil, so you're running it back, okay? Part of your mind going, oh shit, please don't have a penalty. I don't want to run all this way for a penalty.
That's always a thought after return a touchdown, even on the 70-yard touchdown on the crossing route. You run in, all you thinking is, man, I hope I ain't run all this way for no reason. Literally.
I love it. Okay, so let's look at it as something else because I want to take, in football, you got to have a short memory, good or bad. You got to go to the next play. It may have been the Calgary game. I watch every game. They kind of blend into each other, but you're running that deep post pattern, and with your great speed or quickness, you blow by the guy. You're wide open, and you drop the football. Yeah. What is that like? Do you come back and apologize to the quarterback? How quickly do you shelve that thing? How quickly are you, what kind of ability do you have to put it behind you?
Yeah, that was the Edmonton game, man. I've grown to have short-term memory. That's key, especially being a professional athlete. That kind of started when I was younger. I played a lot of quarterback growing up. I played quarterback all throughout high school, and I would throw interceptions. I would fumble the ball, just handling the ball every play. Being a triple option quarterback, make mistakes, misreads, and all type of stuff like that. And it's imperative that, in order for you to be at your full potential, be at the best throughout the game, when you do make a mistake, you have to have a short-term memory. If you can recall in the Calgary game, I also had a negative play with the punt return. Sitting there, expecting the whistle to blow, just having a brain fart of the transition from being a punt returner down south and a punt returner up north. And if you can recall, the very next play, I caught maybe a 20-yard pass, and that's imperative as a professional athlete. And in order to help your team, when you make a mistake like that, you got to have short-term memory, and the next play mentality.
I love it. Hey, how much does it help you that you and Drew Brown are trying to prove yourselves together? Drew Brown's been in this league, but now it's his time. He gets to be a starting quarterback, and you're a receiver trying to cut your teeth. That's got to be kind of cool to kind of be in the same area. You're not with like an established veteran. You're with a guy trying to cut your teeth and prove your own self.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is. Whether we've been in the league, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, everybody day in and day out is still trying to, earn their check. That's one thing that one of my coaches in college used to always say, earn your scholarship, and that's every day. That's an everyday approach that you should have, even up here, especially up here, now getting paid for it. You got to earn that check each and every day. And that's the mindset that I take, and I'm pretty sure that's the mindset that Drew takes, being the leader of this team. And yeah, it's a wonder to be out there with Drew. Man, he's a great leader, and he knows when the right things to say and when to say them.
Hey, Khalil Pimpleton. So you come up here, all right? I don't know how much you knew about the CFL when you came up here, but when you first saw, okay, I get 5-yard halo to return a kick. Hey, I get the waggle. Are you guys nuts? You're going to let me get a running start at the line of scrimmage? What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, that's just kind of just how you mentioned it. I remember sitting back at home, just learning kind of the different rules to the game. At the end of the day, it's still football, but you do have those little nuances that I believe are tailor made, to my skill set, and that I can use as an advantage as I play the game. The 5-yard halo, that's dope. If you ask me, I didn't really know whether before I got up, I didn't really know whether that would it would be to my advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah.
But I've grown to learn and love the 5-yard halo rule. Also the waggle motions. I mean, like I said, I don't think I'm the fastest. I am pretty fast, but you got to be pretty quick, to make those decisions off those waggle motions. So I feel like both of those rules in itself, help me be at an advantage when I'm on the field.
Now, I wouldn't suggest you're not a talented guy because you are. You bounced around like so many Americans to different camps, and it's kind of timing and place and who likes who and how much draft capital they've invested. But where I'm going with this is you come to Canada now, you get to play regardless of what fans think. Some fans think it's a bush league, but we know it's not, okay? You come up here, and it's the real deal up here. And I've always said this is a second chance league. A guy like you bouncing around. Maybe you're not playing pro ball. You get to earn a living playing a kid's game. And who knows, maybe another crack at the NFL because you never grew up wanting to be a CFL player. But just talk about the appreciation you have for our Canadian Football League, the rules and everything.
I have a great appreciation for it. I think Chad Ochocinco said it best. It's, the CFL is a league with the American guys. It's a league of guys who just got caught up in the numbers. And, you come out here each and every day and you look at the guys who are in that locker room, in the meeting room, and that you're competing with on the field. And, guys who've had opportunities to play in the NFL. And it's kind of like, dang, man, what are you doing up here? Why you not down there? And I'm pretty sure that's the mindset of a lot of guys. And even some of the Canadian guys, they tell us, some of the Americans, hey, we're going to help you, do what you got to do to get to where you want to be, if that is the CFL or whether that's the or the NFL. But yeah, I have a great appreciation for the guys, man. I look across the board, across the other 8 teams in the league, man, and just phenomenal athletes, top tier. Literally, they say the NFL they're the best athletes in the world. And there's no shortfall of that here up in the CFL either.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, a couple more quick questions for you. I know it's busy time, and I appreciate you doing this. So, Ottawa Redblacks haven't lost on home turf. You guys are defending your turf, and if you win most of your games or all of your games on home turf, you're going to have a good crack at the playoffs and get to the playoffs in the CFL. You can get to the Grey Cup. Just talk about the confidence you guys have there at TD Place.
Yeah, man, we got some momentum going right now. We have a great group of guys. We have a great game plan each week in and week out. A good coaching staff who comes up with great schemes. And it's all about the players, coming in and executing. And I feel that we've been having some great practices. We've been having over the course of the last few weeks. These have been some of the best practices we've had. And it's wonderful to watch it all come together. From camp and up until now. And it's only the best teams continue to get better each and every week. And I can tell that that's something that we're taking pride in, and we're going to continue to do.
Okay, lastly, you're going to have a Rider defense that's going to come in here, some pissed off. They haven't been playing so great the last couple of weeks. They got rolled by Edmonton over 500 yards. But they have a guy in their defensive secondary who I think is right there as the best defensive back in the league. Number 0, Roland Milligan. Just what are you seeing from him and from the Riders in their back end there that you'll go up against here this week?
Yeah, he's a physical player. He's one of the leaders on their defense. And he's a guy that they rally behind. But I feel that with our skill set in the room, what we have up front with the quarterback that we have in Drew Brown, if we can all pull it together, when we all pull it together this week Thursday, I feel that he's just another player out there, in the way of us getting the dub. And we respect all, but we fear none. And we'll be out there ready to attack, whoever it is that we need to attack to win the game.
Hey, who's the leader of your receiving core? You've got a really good receiving core. You got Hardy, you got Ackland, you got Rhymes. That got yourself, who's a newbie, and you may be a leader in your own way. But is there kind of the Papa Bear there that has people over for meetings and to cook stuff and that type of thing?
Yeah, I think I don't think there's just a solid one, man. I think we have a solid group of receivers who are all veterans. They've been around this league, they've been in the game for so long, and they all take that approach as big bro, Uncle Ro, and they all speak up when they need to at the right times, including Jalen Ackland. So, there's a lot. Braylon Addison, they all speak up, man. They all do their part of being that mentor to the younger guys and to each other. So I won't single anybody out, but just pay homage to all of the older cats in the room who do such a great job of leading and mentoring everybody else in the room.
You couldn't have picked a better receiving core to join, to be honest. I know you're biased because you're there, but when you think about the names we just listed, you come in here like, holy cow, this is a plethora of riches here.
Listen, man, I did my study, I did my homework before I got up here, and I realized that we had, I was joining one of the best, if not the best, receiving core in the league. So definitely appreciate those guys, for what they do and what they bring and how they motivate me and encourage me on a day-to-day basis.
Hey, man, continued success. Pray for your health. Good luck. Lord Pimpleton, Khalil Pimpleton, thanks for your time, man.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
The show is brought to you by District Brewing and their Super Squeeze seltzers, fruited seltzers, mango lime, passion fruit lime, and Saskatchewan liquor stores. And also, do we call them liquor stores? We used to call liquor board. That's how old I am. Liquor stores. And then also Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. Go see Michael Barth and the gang. They got payment plans to help keep your vehicle on the road. We know everything's getting expensive, including, let's be honest, vehicles aren't an investment. They're a necessary evil. You need tires. You need brakes. You need to pay for it. They got all that covered over there. 101 Dudney Avenue. Go see Michael Barth and the great gang over there. I want to get to a couple of things. Ballsy's best and Ballsy's bus. Let's go with bus first from week number 9. Casey Sales hit on Davis Alexander. That was a real slobber knocker, as we like to say. Helmet to helmet. Not a dirty player, Casey Sales, wearing number 44 for the Tiger Cats, but that was a very dirty play. So he is on the busts list. Also, Ballsy's bus. Riders defense, period. It's leaking oil. They've got some great players there. They're without Anthony Lanier II. That's a big loss, but other guys got to pick it up here now. This defense is going to have to carry the load with this offense in a state of flux due to injury, although I guess Jameer Thurman's hurt now too. So stay tuned on a short week too for the Rough Riders against a very good Ottawa Redblacks team trying to corral that great offense led by Drew Brown and the newcomer. You just heard from him, Khalil Pimpleton. Lord Pimpleton, as they say. Another bust. We talked about it earlier. The Lions' pathetic performance on offense against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bombers were on a short week. Lions were on the bye, coming off the bye, and they looked like they were still sleeping. They forgot their bye ended. And the reffing last week is a bust. Now, I think the CFL refs do a pretty good job given the money that's invested into our officiating, but we had the blow and fumble recovery. And then everything in the Montreal Hamilton game, and then it went through review and they still screwed it up. But even when you're looking at the Rider game here, for instance, because I zeroed in on that. That's where we do our post-game show after every Rider game. You're looking at it. You got the Trevor Reed, the Riders' left tackle, crackbacking on an Eskimo defender, like shoves him in the back. That's a clip. He runs into another Eskimo player, wipes them both out in front of the official, the back judge, no penalty, no call, no clip, nothing. You've got the love tap by 42 of Edmonton Taylor on the helmet, just grazing the mask of Shea Patterson. They had a call down for that, by the way. So we blatantly screw up a video review in a Hamilton Montreal game, but now we call down to make calls. Like, listen, I know you're not supposed to hit the quarterback in the head. I get it. But let's be real here. That's like swatting a mosquito. Get out of here. You wonder why I think there's a conspiracy against the defense. Every second play, receivers are offside. They're allowed to be. Although I will say the league has called more receiver offside penalties than before, so that's good. Then you got a Joe over on the sidelines against Bynum, the corner. And he makes a great catch, reaches over and, mosses him, as they like to say. Or since he's on my show a lot, mannies him by stealing from him. And then he celebrates like he's in a strip club for 2.5 minutes. And that's okay. I have no problem with the celebration. Gyrating the hips and doing the sprinkler dance. I'd love to look that cool dancing like a Joe. Okay? Nothing against the kid. Great catch. Nice celebration. But you've embarrassed Bynum. You don't think he's going to remember that in front of 29,000 fans and people watching at home? You've embarrassed him. So one of the other series late in the game, Patterson throws near the Elks bench. Bynum bats it down. Clean play. A Joe goes down. Bynum stands over him, goes like this, like incomplete sign, and gives the thumbs down, and he gets a 15-yard penalty. And it's not just the Riders being benefactors. Malik Carney, who I said didn't show up, blatantly held on a leak touchdown run, like tugged his jersey, the left tackle. Like, everything is against the defense. It's actually pretty sickening, to be quite honest with you. So that's a bust for me, the officiating. And I'm usually sticking up for those guys. Now, Ballsy's best. What we saw here on Saturday, the Elks should be embarrassed. Last year, they couldn't win till they put Ford in, and they hadn't won since Ford was the starting quarterback. He starts here against Saskatchewan. Maybe he's got to play against Saskatchewan all the time, but he wins back here in his favorite stadium maybe to play in the league, Mosaic Stadium. But Trey Ford is the Canadian Lamar Jackson, running around, making plays, doing things with his legs and his arms, and he's the best athlete in the CFL. And it's not particularly close, in my opinion. So with Ballsy's best, I'm going to give you the top 5 athletes in the CFL from just doing my eyeball test. I don't know about dunking basketballs or anything like that, but just watching on the field, I think the top 5 athletes are at number 1, Trey Ford. At number 2, Riders defensive back, Roland Milligan. Guy is an unbelievable football player, 5 INTs. He sucked in the first half, but came back and played well in the second half, had an interception when there were 2 receivers and 2 defenders in the same area as the Elks didn't space the field out with their all-go route, but he read it and picked it off. He's the second best athlete in the league, in my opinion, and best defensive back. Number 3, Janarian Grant. Whoops, there's a personnel miss from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Their return game hasn't been the same since. He is kicking ass with Toronto. He's the 3rd best athlete, in my opinion, in the league. At number 4, the guy who ran for 2 touchdowns and was a killer against the Riders last year on special teams, Javon Leake of the Edmonton Elks. That guy might not be straight away faster than like Trey Ford, but he is a dynamic athlete as well. So I got Javon Leake at 4. Then you could have had a lot of players at 5. I'm making this a pick 6, actually, for the football lingo. At 5, I've got Marc-Antoine Dequoy, the big, you can't teach size, and you can't teach speed, and you can't teach football sense. Marc-Antoine Dequoy, because of his birth certificate and how he plays, you factor it all in. He is the 5th best athlete in the CFL, in my opinion. And at number 6, Tyson Philpott. I could have gone Beverett, maybe Cam Judge. There's a few others. Woods on the D-line. I think it's D-line, right? Woods, or at least linebacking core. Front 7 for the BC Lions. He's another one I would have gone with, but I'm going with Tyson Philpott at 6. So my pick 6, top 6 athletes in the CFL for Ballsy's best: Trey Ford, Roland Milligan, Janarian Grant, Javon Leake, Marc-Antoine Dequoy, safety of the Owls, and Tyson Philpott, receiver for the Alouettes. If you're just getting into the sporting news of the day, and it's a Rider news, Council retiring. Brandon Council calling it quits to go back to Auburn and be the NIL coordinator for the Tigers. Probably more money, better opportunity down the line. Don't know if his heart was in it, and really is just so-so. in his professional football career. So he's done. Sevier is out. So Zach Fry out of Queens, I believe, he's going to start at left guard for the Riders in his second year. And now Nick Jones from Mississippi State comes in, and he's going to be playing right tackle for the Saskatchewan Roughriders against Malden the fourth. And is it Carter? Oh my goodness. Wakefield in Ottawa. Shea Patterson could be in some problems. And yeah, I know Coach Mace left the door open that, we could see Trevor Harris play. No, we're not. If Corey Mace lets Trevor Harris play, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, they should fire Corey Mace on the spot, but they won't play him. Listen, I like Corey Mace, but what I'm saying is that would be the dumbest move in the history of the Rough Riders. You're not going to put a 38-year-old quarterback who's probably on his last legs, literally. He's got 2 wonky knees now. You're not going to put him behind that makeshift offensive line. I wouldn't even put him behind that offensive line if it doesn't change against Montreal next week when Cody comes to town with the Alouettes. I'm sure Cody's going to play. I'm not sure. He hasn't played against the Riders yet, but you'd have to think so. And then they got to go to Toronto. And then they got back-to-back against Winnipeg. If Harris is good, he'll be against the Bombers in one of those games. That's what I think. That's personally what I think. Corey Huber sends in a message. D will be exposed again this week against Ottawa, and the O-line's taking a big hit with the injuries and the retirement. No kidding. I asked you on Twitter what you think the Riders' record will be, or how you think they're going to fare over the next couple of games. If you're a Rider fan, and most people say if they're lucky 1-2, a lot of people are saying 0-3. And some other people are saying, one other guy said, hey, why don't they look? We got to look at injuries and how do we cut down on all these injuries? Maybe they have a rotation with like 8 offensive linemen, 9 offensive linemen, get them ready and a certain amount play every game, and you rotate other guys out so they're ready to go and we could preserve them. That'd be nice in a perfect world, but you need chemistry and cohesion on that offensive line. And that's part of the reason why, if the Riders on a short week, I'd bet the farm Ottawa wins that. And I don't even know what the spread is, but they probably cover the spread there. And before I walk away from Ballsy's best, I got to mention this, and it's nothing to do with sports, but thank God, maybe the world's turning a bit. Maybe we're getting more logical. The Saskatchewan government says it's introducing measures to ban cell phone use in schools during class time beginning this school year. The ban will be for all schools in the province from kindergarten to grade 12. For grade 9 to 12, the province says the teachers will be able to seek an exemption from administration to allow cell phone use by students during class time when needed for a specific instructional purpose. So that's good. And because the fact that I don't know, the government puts as much money into education as they should, there's probably not as much technological equipment as needed in classrooms. So I get it. If there's a certain project or they got to share photos for a picture collage or something like that, great. And the other exemption I would give is if we have First Canadians that come here, like what the government does too is when you come to, let's say Saskatchewan. You come to Saskatchewan, you're a new Canadian. Welcome in. But when you come to the classroom, what's happening in a lot of cases is these kids, and it's not their fault, they're going into the classroom and they don't even know basic English. So it slows down the rest of the class. Imagine if you have 1 or 2 kids, no fault of their own, they come into the classroom and they don't know the basics of English. And you got 32 other kids and you've got a teacher stopping the whole classroom down. It's one of the most unnatural, frustrating, challenging things that when teachers want to raise, give them their damn raise. Give them their money, okay? I'm not usually a union guy, and for the most part, teachers have a shitty union, but I think they've been better this last go-around, and that's what I'm saying. And so for if you have a cell phone for a First Canadian or a new Canadian that comes in and it helps with Google translating, English translating into their language. Okay, I can kind of get that. That's an exemption that I'd be down with. But other than that, you don't need a cell phone in the classroom. If little Johnny's mom wants to get a hold of him, hi, O'Neill High School. Hi, I like to talk to Johnny Smith. Johnny Smith. He's in Mrs. Smith. He's in Mrs. Johnson's class. Okay, hold on a second. Me. Yeah. Hello. Hi, Mrs. Johnson. We'd like Johnny to come down. His mom would like to talk to him. Can he please come to the classroom? And yeah, that's how you get a hold of it. It's called the school phone and an intercom. Otherwise, you don't need a cell phone in a classroom. And that is, yeah, call me old man yelling at clouds, but that's the truth. And thank goodness, kudos to the Saskatchewan government for doing this. As long as, like I said, we can be a little flexible, and it looks like they are going to be flexible. I'll tell you what, I was working at Rancherlo, or I have been working at Rancherlo, and as part of that, you've got to do a couple of different training courses, and one was a care course where you deal with how to understand the kids, their behavior, what they're going through, how you might, for instance, if a kid's acting up at Rancherlo and you're going to threaten to take away their headphones, well, maybe the thing that soothes them is music. And if a guy like me wouldn't know that, I'd automatically be that guy, say, take that damn, that's it. You don't want to do this, then you're not getting that. But that's not always the way to go. There's got to be a little give and take, even in like a regular school classroom. So that's what I learned. But where I'm going with this is one of the guys that was there was a young 20-something-year-old named Carter Moberg, who is in his 4th year with the Regina Thunder out of Swift Current, a quarterback. He's there working part-time at Rancherlo. I'll talk to him about that and the Thunder season coming up.
What's up, guys? Nathan here from Boys Next Door Window Cleaning. Today we're out at Katepwa Lake doing some deluxe window cleaning on a beautiful cabin here. We just finished up the windows, so now we're getting started on this Suncoast sunroom. Just a screen enclosure today, so just cleaning the screens. Landon's outside doing the scrubbing. I'm inside scrubbing as well, and then we're going to rinse them off, put some sealant on, and they're going to look great. So tag along and check it out.
All right, welcome back to Ballsy Uncut. This is my work colleague. No, I don't play on the Thunder. I broadcast their games this year on Access, but I didn't realize we'd be in a training session together at Rancherlo. How are you today, Carter Moberg?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. How long you been working at Ranch?
About 6 months.
Okay, so Rancherlo, for people that don't know, is a place that, mentors and helps deal with at-risk youth. How did you get into this?
I had a few teammates that were in Rancherlo, and they said it was a good place to work, so I was more than lucky to get a job there.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell the people that are listening or watching my show, what do you do there exactly?
I build relationships with kids, and I try and help them in their day-to-day life, giving them support so they can continue to grow and have success in their lives.
Who is that for you? Who is your mentor?
My mentor? Probably my dad.
Yeah.
Kind of there for me whenever I needed it. He was very steady, and so. Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice your dad's ever given you, either football wise or life wise?
I don't really know, actually, off the top of my head. Probably just less of like advice he gave me and more of advice he showed me, where just showing up every day and kind of being there for me. And
so how do you mentor the kids? If I was to ask you that, like, what do you do? In our session that we had a care session, it's called, and you did different activities to see how you'd approach a situation and maybe the verbiage you'd use. I found it very enlightening for me. How about for a young guy like you, and how do you implement that in your day-to-day operations there? Yeah, my thing is always just being patient with the kids, because like they're going to make mistakes, right? And you're just being patient, being with them, and then trying to just be supportive along the way and
let them have fun, let them try things, and
Yeah.
go.
So, Carter, I've heard you're pretty hard on yourself when it's related to football and your performance. How much is working at the ranch? And we're talking about kids with really tough situations without going into it, family situations, addictions, everything like that. How does that help put your football life in perspective, so to speak?
Yeah, like it opens you up a bit, right? Where it's like you're going through a bad day at football, and it is what it is, because like there's people going through so much more. So it gives you a bit, like when you wake up the next morning, it gives you a bit of purpose where it's just like I'm all right, like I'm gonna be fine. Just football.
Yeah. So let's talk about this season. What are the expectations inside those walls of the Regina Thunder facility? You want to win every year. How do you feel about your team so far through training camp and that preseason game with the Calgary Colts?
I think this is one of the best teams I've been a part of. I think we look really sharp really early. So I think for us, it's just about going and winning it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always the Saskatoon Hilltops. You measure against them, they measure against you. Is there there's always seems to be kind of a third team in the mix? Not that you disregard any opponents for sure, but who might that third team be?
Winnipeg's always a bit of a challenge for us just because we play them twice every year, and they show up and they try and put a good team out there. So like Winnipeg will be a good threat.
Mm-hmm.
The Huskies, they have a decent program going up there, so like they'll probably put out a good team that can. So,
it's funny because Calgary and the Colts and the Wildcats, they always seem to have athletes. They just can never seem to put it together consistently. Or sometimes the Wildcats can and the Huskies can't.
Yeah, well, every team in this league has athletes. It's just about what their preparation was before the season, and any team can really reasonably have a good year if they put it together.
So is it like a gift from God for a quarterback to have a big left tackle like you got? Tell us the kid from California that's joined your team. What's his name and what's that like? Because he's a building with feet, as I like to say.
Yeah, like Caleb Barajas. No, he's been outstanding so far. He's came in and he's showing some really good stuff, and he works hard, and he's a menacing guy. Like I'm so lucky to be playing behind him.
Mm-hmm. There's another kid that came from the U.S. Who's a receiver. I can't remember his name, but tell me about the guy that's been added to your roster that way.
Yeah, David Boyd Jr. He's a good player. He's come in and he's going through some injuries right now, but whenever he's out there, he's a difference maker all the time.
And how about the stud from Indian Head that's been hauling in your passes in training camp?
Zach Wajla. Yeah, guy. I've been playing with him forever. Like me and him, we have a really good on-field chemistry, and he's a great player. Like he just does exactly what needs to be done all the time.
I always talk to Stefan Ensign, and he's the quarterback whisperer. He's developed a lot of quarterbacks. What kind of relationship do you have with him? And maybe explain your relationship, your relationship with him.
Yeah, me and Steph, we're close. Before games and stuff, we're talking a lot, and in the off season, we're bouncing ideas off each other a little bit. So, but he's good. Like he really likes working with quarterbacks, and he loves football. So, like I think he wants to win. So like our relationship is all just about winning, right? It's just what can we do to get better at all moments. Never mind, you go.
So Carter, sorry about that. So when you're looking at actually finish your thought, because you're going to say something else this off season. You started to say
off season he had us working with a quarterback coach from Montreal. His name QB Motion River, Miles Gibbons, and so he put in a lot of time investing in us as quarterbacks to like getting better and working on the things that can really improve, and it's been great.
So how are you taking your game to the next level? I'm glad I didn't cut you off and let you finish. What did you identify that you need to do better this year?
Yeah, for me, it was just a lot of inconsistencies in my throwing motion. Like I was missing stuff that was there, and I was a bit lazy in my footwork at times. So like, those things, just getting down to the basics and just making sure I could be consistent and hit every throw was just huge.
It's funny because I'm glad you brought that up. Making those easy throws are what quarterbacks like to call layups, easy layups, right? And Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer, he said, I'd rather take a quarterback that can make all the layups than the guys who can make 2 or 3 fantastic plays a game. Would you agree with that?
I think so, because those are the plays that happen more often, right? Like it's great to be able to go win a game with a play, but you won't put yourself in the position to win it if you don't make all the throws along the way.
So you're from Swift Current, that's right?
Yeah.
So where do you live in Regina now that you're here? Like, how does that work for you?
I live out in the east. I have 3 roommates, so we're crammed into a little townhouse, but it's pretty good. They're all football guys, and we get
Yeah.
along. Nice.
Living the life. Does the family come up and watch you play? Do they travel to your games?
Yeah, my family comes and watches every game I play, and it's been awesome having them around.
Yeah. And what's it like to play at Leibel Field, great facility, versus Mosaic? Like, Mosaic's nice. You're playing in a pro stadium, kind of whets your appetite. I wonder what it would be like to play in front of 30,000, but let's be honest, 30,000 don't go to a junior football game. To me, it'd be better to play at Leibel Field.
I mean, the first time you walk out of Mosaic, it's unreal because like you just see the entire thing, and there's a different vibe to it, right? Where it just feels professional. It's really cool. But Leibel's a great field. Like it gets packed in there, and it's loud, and I prefer playing at Leibel.
You know, back to Winnipeg for a second. That's your first game. First one I'm going to broadcast is the 25th on Access Now Sports. I get the pleasure of calling 3 games. But you're going to Winnipeg. Like, so we automatically think the Hilltops are your biggest rival, and they are. But for you, or for Winnipeg, it's probably you guys. You're the closest to them. They want to beat you. Winnipeg and Regina have always had a rivalry.
Yeah, Winnipeg, they bring intensity to every game we play against them. Like they don't like us, and so it's up to us to kind of bring that back to them, or else you're going to start losing games against them. So we definitely we don't like Winnipeg, and we go in there with a chip every time.
And they don't play at the big stadium. So what's their facility like in terms of the field, in terms of the setup for the dressing room? That's probably a piece of adversity that you have to go through in some of these places you play.
Well, the field's nice. Like it's a good field, and it's just, not the greatest environment I've been in, but, you do it again.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, what are your goals for the season in terms of touchdowns, interceptions? Like you had a 13 to, what was the last year, your stats?
I think it was like 13 to 10.
Yeah. So I was sitting talking to you at this because we're bullshitting about sports before we did this conference in between at lunch or whatever. And I said about 20-6. Would that be about right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. But
you just want to win, right? Awesome, man. Hey, thanks for your time. You're a good kid. Thanks for all the work you're doing in the community, and best of luck against your opponents this year. Have a safe and a great season.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That is our friend Carter Moberg. A little glitch there. Thanks to him, quarterback of the Regina Thunder from Swift Current in his 4th year. Thunder open up their season August 11th officially against the Winnipeg Rifles. I'll have the call August 25th on the play-by-play. Back where it all started for me, junior football. We kind of fun to watch the Stars of Tomorrow today. That's what this show's all about, supporting the 3-down game mostly, but all levels of sports. Hey, we'll mention this, the Olympics. I'm going to be honest, after the whole Last Supper mockery at the start, kind of turned me right off. I know we've been doing I think we won in women's hammer throw, which is awesome. There was a Saskatchewan Riley Weens, I want to say, from Pike Lake, won in the synchronized diving. So that's cool. And there are some Saskatchewan athletes take part. I have nothing against the athletes, but these games have been, I don't know, too woke for my liking. But anyway, after falling behind host France in the first quarter, the Canadians couldn't catch up and ultimately lost 82-73. So the Canadian men's basketball team, the much ballyhooed basketball team, out of the Olympics. Could never recover from that terrible first quarter. So you got the likes of Gilgeous Alexander and others on that team. RJ Barrett, definitely not what the Canadians were looking for in the Olympics. That is going to do it for our time. Oh, I saw this report too. Apparently the Riders have ruled out. Oh, wow. The Riders have ruled out Trevor Harris for Thursday's game. Imagine that. Behind a makeshift offensive line. If they're smart, they won't push this thing too fast. Was it the last year Cody was here? They pushed Cody Fajardo a little much with that knee. Maybe he wanted to keep playing because he is a tough guy, and he is a tough guy physically, but they probably were kind of forced to because of the standings. That's why I always say you win early in the season and get that early season equity built up in the bank. So if the furnace goes, you got money in the bank, you can pay for it. If you get injuries in football, if you get up and you're like 5-1, 5-2, now you're 5-3, maybe you're 5-4, maybe you're 5-5, but you're still in the mix. Listen, Riders are going to be a 9-9, a 10-8 team. That's what they're going to be. 9-9, 10-8, better than the last 2 years. Get to the playoffs, and all you need is a chip, a chair, and a chance by getting to the playoffs. And I'd rather have Trevor Harris quarterback in my team in the playoffs than being out permanently. Guy's on 2 wonky knees, not 1 but 2, and he's 38, not 28. And it's not the quarterback's fault. Shea Patterson threw for 306 yards, 2 touchdowns in the last game. Put 31 points up. Defense has to be better. Field goal kicker needs to make some kicks. Need to play a little more disciplined. Don't go offside when there's a field goal attempt and then give Edmonton a chance at a touchdown. Coming up tomorrow on the show, Keith Willoughy will be by, the dean at the Edwards School of Business, who is our dean on this show and gives us the CFL simulations every week. We'll see what his computer picks in terms of the game on Thursday. The prospects of the Riders having a home playoff game, making the playoffs. Things have changed dramatically just in the last couple of weeks. Which team has made the biggest move up the standings, the biggest mover and shaker? We're also going to talk to the president of the Regina Red Sox, Gary Brotzel, open up the playoffs tomorrow against the Moose Jaw Miller Express. Good Trans-Canada clash there at Curry Field in North Regina. Should be a good one. Let's get it on because we don't get along. That's right. And we'll talk to Andy McNamara, our NFL fantasy football expert. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL storylines going on. That and much, much more coming up the rest of this week. And a reminder, Thursday, we got the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. So you get 4 days of football talk and sports talk right here on Ballsy Uncut. Thanks to District Brewing and our friends at Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue here in Regina, for supporting Ballsy Uncut. Tell all your friends. The show will be available in podcast form a little later on tonight.